What if the life you're dreaming of isn't far away at all? What if it's standing quietly on the other side of one small decision, the decision you keep postponing? We often think we need a miracle, a perfect plan, or the right timing. But sometimes, all it takes is a single step, a quiet choice, to shift the direction of our entire life. Most of us don't suffer because life is cruel. We suffer because we don't listen. Life whispers before it screams. It sends small signs: restlessness, dissatisfaction, a tug inside the chest. But we scroll past them, bury them under distractions, or tell ourselves, later. I'll fix it later. But later has a way of becoming never. And time does not pause for our hesitation. Every day we delay becoming who we're meant to be, we drift a little further from the life that could have been ours. Buddhist wisdom doesn't try to change the world outside of you. It doesn't promise shortcuts or quick happiness or a perfect life. Instead, it offers something quieter, truths that don't shout but gently unfold within you, truths that shift the way you see, the way you think, the way you breathe. Because the world you experience is not out there. It begins in here, within your own mind. So take a breath. Slow down with me for a moment. This isn't just another video to watch and forget. This is a mirror, an invitation to see yourself as you are and as you could become. If you're ready, let's walk, gently, honestly, through 10 Buddhist principles that can reshape your life from the inside out. Not someday, not when life gets easier, but now, before time slips any further from our hands. Principle 1. Discipline is a kindness to your future self. Imagine a beautiful garden, filled with flowers, quiet stone paths, soft sunlight resting on the leaves. Now imagine this same garden without any fences, without any care. Soon, footsteps trample the blossoms, weeds grow wild, and what was once a place of peace slowly turns into chaos. Our lives are no different. Without discipline, even the most beautiful dreams can be overrun by distraction, laziness, and regret. Most people think freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But look closely. Does that kind of freedom lead to peace? Or does it leave you feeling more lost, more empty, more disconnected from yourself? Real freedom is not about obeying every impulse. It's about having the strength to choose what truly matters, even when it isn't easy. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's protection, a fence around the garden of your life. It keeps what is meaningful safe and keeps the unnecessary from growing wild. Buddha called this the middle way, not a life of strict self-denial, nor a life of reckless indulgence. It is the balance between effort and ease, between structure and softness. A disciplined life doesn't mean waking up at 4 a.m. and suffering. It means living with intention. It means saying, I care about my future self too much to abandon them to the consequences of my comfort today. Think about it. Every small act of discipline creates a quiet ripple in time. The book you read today becomes wisdom tomorrow. The walk you take today becomes health tomorrow. The distraction you resist today becomes clarity tomorrow. Discipline is not about control. It is about love, love for the person you are becoming. You don't need to fix your whole life at once. You don't need to become perfect. You only need to begin. One small habit, one honest commitment, one moment where you choose what's right over what's easy. So ask yourself gently, what is one small discipline you can practice today as an act of love for your future self? Principle 2. Shine light on your inner shadows. There is an old story about a traveler who once got lost in a mist-covered forest. The fog was thick, silent, and eerie, and every distant sound felt like a monster waiting to attack. His heart raced. Every shadow looked like danger. For a moment he thought of turning back. But instead, he took a deep breath and walked forward. With each step, the shapes he feared began to fade. The growl he imagined was only the wind. The monster he thought he saw was only a crooked tree. And the darkness he ran from was only fog. This is how we live sometimes. We don't run from real danger. We run from the fear inside our minds, the unspoken thoughts, the suppressed emotions, the guilt we hide, the pain we never allow ourselves to feel. Yet the more we avoid them, the more powerful they become. Unseen fears do not disappear in silence. They grow. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not the enemy. It is a doorway, a teacher. It whispers, something inside you needs attention. But most of us try to numb it with distraction, work, scrolling, entertainment, even fake smiles. But what we ignore doesn't vanish. It waits. It grows in the dark. The Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. That means healing begins, not when life gets easier, but when we stop running from ourselves. Awareness is the first step to liberation. When you finally shine a gentle light on your inner shadows, your fears lose their shape. Your pain begins to soften. What once felt like a monster reveals itself to be a wound, simply asking to be healed. So today, don't escape, don't rush, don't distract. Sit in silence for just a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself gently, what emotion have I been avoiding? What truth am I afraid to feel? You don't need to fix it all right now. You only need to look at it with honesty and compassion. Because the moment you stop running, the mist begins to clear, and you realize it was never the forest that frightened you. It was your own imagination of the dark. Principle 3. Speak your truth or lose your voice. There is a story of a small bird who once had a gentle, beautiful song that belonged only to her. It wasn't the loudest in the forest, but it was real. Over time, the bird started to notice how other birds were praised for sounding a certain way. So she tried to copy them, their sounds, their rhythm, their melody. Little by little, she stopped singing her own song. And one day, when she tried to remember it, she couldn't. Her voice was gone. Not because someone stole it, but because she abandoned it. This is what happens to us when we silence our truth just to be accepted. Every time we say yes, when our heart quietly screams no. Every time we pretend to agree just to avoid conflict. Every time we suppress our feelings to please others. We disappear a little from our own life. It is a slow fading, not of the body, but of the spirit. Buddhism teaches the principle of right speech, to speak with honesty, compassion, and courage. Right speech doesn't mean being harsh or brutally honest. It doesn't mean shouting your opinions louder than everyone else. It means respecting the truth within you and expressing it in a way that doesn't harm, but also doesn't hide. It means speaking from clarity, not ego, from love, not fear. Yet many people live like puppets, moving to satisfy expectations, pulling their words back to remain liked, and following a script written by society rather than the script written by their soul. They gain approval, but lose themselves. They become loved for the mask they wear, not the person they are. And no matter how perfect that mask is, it never brings peace. So stop for a moment and breathe. Ask yourself honestly, whose approval are you still living for? Is it your parents, your friends, strangers on the internet, or the version of yourself that you think people will accept? Because the truth is, silence may protect you from judgment, but it also protects you from being seen, known, and truly loved. You were not born to be an echo of someone else's voice. You were given your own. Speak it gently. Speak it truthfully. Speak it, even if it trembles. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the song only you can sing. Principle 4. Let struggle shape you, not break you. Think of clay placed on a potter's wheel. At first, it is formless, soft, and unshaped, but under steady pressure from the potter's hands, twisting, pressing, reshaping, the clay begins to take form. Without that pressure, without that spinning and reshaping, it would remain nothing more than a lump of mud. It is the force, the friction, the discomfort that turns it into something beautiful, something purposeful. Our lives are shaped in the same way. Pain is not always a punishment. More often, it is a process of refinement. Yet, when life becomes heavy, when plans fall apart, when people leave, when our efforts seem to fail, it is easy to ask, why is this happening to me? But what if the real question is, what is this experience shaping me into? A sword is only sharp after enduring fire. A diamond only forms under pressure. Strength is rarely born in comfort. Buddhism gives us a powerful image, the lotus flower. It does not grow in clean water. It rises from mud, dark, murky, unseen. Yet from that very mud, it emerges pure and untouched, opening its petals toward the sun. The lotus does not resent the mud, it uses it. In the same way, your struggles are not the end of your story, they are the soil of your becoming. But many people let hardship harden them instead of shape them. They close their hearts, they say life is unfair and stop growing. But pain, when met with awareness, becomes wisdom. Suffering, when faced instead of avoided, becomes strength. Life is not asking you to break, it is asking you to evolve. So pause for a moment and breathe. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Gently ask yourself, what is life teaching me through this discomfort instead of what it's taking away? Maybe it is teaching you patience, maybe resilience, maybe the courage to let go. Whatever it is, it's not here to destroy you. It's here to transform you. Principle 5. Train the mind, or be ruled by it. The mind is like a wild horse, powerful, full of energy, capable of greatness. But if untrained, it runs in every direction, dragging its rider through dirt, storms, and chaos. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine sitting on that horse with no reins, no guidance. It darts toward memories of the past, leaps into fears of the future, gets spooked by opinions, regrets, what-ifs. That horse is your mind, and most people spend their entire lives being pulled by it. A distracted mind isn't just inconvenient, it's the root of human suffering. You may not be physically in danger, yet your heart races, your breath shortens, your thoughts spiral. Why? Because the mind has traveled somewhere your body hasn't. It wanders into arguments from last year or anxieties about next month. And wherever attention goes, emotions follow. A distracted mind lives everywhere, except here. But a trained mind, that is freedom. Buddha once said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. In Buddhism, mindfulness and concentration, known as samadhi, are not religious rituals. They are mental training. Just like you would train a muscle, you train your awareness. You don't force the mind to be silent. You teach it how to return, again and again and again. Training the mind is not about getting rid of thoughts. That's impossible. It's about learning how not to be controlled by them. Imagine standing beside a river. Thoughts are like leaves floating on the surface. When the mind is untrained, you jump into the river, trying to grab every leaf, every thought, every fear, every memory. You fight the current and drown in it. But with mindfulness, you become the observer on the riverbank. You see the thoughts come and go. You don't chase, you don't resist, you just notice, with kindness, without judgment. Science today agrees with what ancient wisdom already knew. Mindfulness rewires the brain. It reduces stress, anxiety, and overthinking. It increases clarity, patience, and emotional balance. But here's the truth. You don't need hours. You just need honesty. Sit for 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe. Watch where the mind goes. You will see how wild the horse really is. Not to shame yourself, but to understand where the training must begin. Most people say they don't have control over their life, but what they really don't have is control over their attention. And attention is life. Whatever holds your attention holds your life. So ask yourself, where does your mind live most of the day? The past? The future? Or here, in this moment? Because the only place where peace exists is now. Imagine if, instead of waking up and reaching for your phone, you reached for your breath. Imagine if, Instead of scrolling endlessly, you sat with yourself, even just for a few minutes. Imagine what your life would become if your mind stopped pulling you and you began guiding it. Slowly, gently, patiently. The wild horse is not your enemy. It is your power, but only if you learn to hold the reins. Principle 6. Let go or be dragged. Imagine holding onto a thick rope with all your strength. At first, it feels safe, something to keep you grounded, something familiar to cling to. But then the rope begins to burn. You feel the pain, but still, you don't let go. Your hands bleed, your skin tears, yet you hold on tighter. Not because it brings peace, but because you're terrified of what happens if you release it. This is what attachment truly is, not love, not loyalty, but fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of what life might look like without the things, people, or identities we've tied ourselves to. Buddhism teaches that attachment is one of the main roots of suffering, not because love is wrong, but because we confuse love with possession. True love allows space, it breathes, it flows, it respects change. Attachment, however, clings. It says, stay the same, don't change, don't leave, don't grow without me. But everything in life is impermanent. People change, seasons change. Even the cells in your body are not the same as they were a year ago. Yet we try to freeze time. We hold onto the rope and wonder why it hurts. Impermanence isn't meant to scare us. It's meant to awaken us. Everything is temporary, and that is exactly why it is beautiful. The sunrise, a child's laughter, the warmth of someone's hand in yours. These things don't last forever, and that is why they matter. If everything stayed the same, nothing would ever feel precious. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over things you cannot control. It means trusting that some people are meant to stay, and others are meant to teach. Some chapters are meant to last, and some are only meant to turn you into who you're becoming. So pause, take a breath, and ask yourself gently, what am I still holding on to that no longer holds me? Is it a memory? A person? A version of yourself that no longer exists? You don't have to force yourself to drop it today. Just notice the rope. Notice the burn. Notice how heavy it feels to carry something that is trying to leave. When you finally let go, it won't be a loss. It will be a return to peace, to lightness, to yourself. Principle 8. Seek meaning, not just moments of pleasure. Imagine a man lost in the desert, exhausted and desperate for water. Suddenly, he sees a pool shimmering in the distance. He runs toward it, only to find that it is salt water. But he is so thirsty that he drinks it anyway. For a moment, his lips feel wet. His throat feels relieved, but only for a moment. Because salt water doesn't satisfy thirst, it deepens it. The more he drinks, the more dehydrated he becomes. This is what happens when we chase pleasure instead of purpose. It gives us a brief sense of satisfaction, but slowly leaves us emptier than before. In life, pleasure isn't the enemy. It's natural to enjoy comfort, success, food, relationships, entertainment. But when pleasure becomes the goal instead of a gift, it begins to drain us. You scroll through social media to numb the stress, but end up feeling more restless. You chase validation, but the approval only lasts until the next insecurity shows up. You buy more, consume more, distract yourself more, yet somehow feel even more hollow. Why? Because pleasure fades, purpose sustains. Buddhist teachings call this cycle tanha, craving. It is the root of suffering. Not because pleasure is wrong, but because craving makes us believe that the next thing will finally make us happy. And when it doesn't, we crave something else. It becomes a never-ending loop. Pleasure, emptiness, pleasure, emptiness. You're drinking salt water, hoping it will satisfy your thirst. Meaning, on the other hand, is different. Meaning may not always feel easy. It may not give instant results. but it nourishes you. It makes you feel alive, grounded, connected to yourself, to others, to something greater than your own comfort. Meaning can be found in working towards something that matters, in choosing growth over ease, in helping someone even when no one notices, in staying true to your values, even when it's hard. Think about the moments in your life that changed you, not the ones filled with constant pleasure, but the ones where you gave, loved, tried, failed, learned, and kept going. That is the difference between a life of temporary highs and a life of depth. This doesn't mean you must reject joy or beauty. It simply means you stop mistaking pleasure for purpose. You enjoy the sweetness of life, but you don't let it define you. You allow moments of joy to touch you, but you no longer chase them out of emptiness. So pause for a second. Breathe gently. Ask yourself, does this choice feed my soul, or only distract my mind? The answer to that question can change the direction of your life, because pleasure is a moment, meaning is a life. Principle 9. Grow so you can help others. Grow. There is a quiet beauty in the way a candle shares its light. When one candle lights another, it doesn't lose its flame. Instead, the room becomes brighter. The original flame remains intact, yet now there are two lights pushing away the darkness. This is the essence of growth in Buddhism, not to shine alone, but to light the way for others. We often think growth is personal, a journey meant only for ourselves, our peace, our success, our healing. But true purpose is never just about the self. What good is wisdom if it never softens another heart? What value is strength if it never becomes a shelter for someone else? In the same way a tree doesn't eat its own fruit, our growth isn't meant to end with us. It is meant to nourish the world around us. Buddhist teaching calls this compassion, karuna. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself or carrying everyone's pain. It means healing yourself so deeply that your presence becomes healing. It means becoming so grounded that others find calmness in your company. Compassion is not about fixing others. It is about becoming a light, so others remember they have one too. Think about the people who shaped you. Maybe a teacher who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. A friend who stayed when others left. A stranger who showed kindness when you felt invisible. They didn't need to be perfect. They didn't need to have all the answers. They simply chose to grow, to understand, to love, despite everything. And because they grew, you did too. This is the silent power of compassion. When you choose growth, when you choose patience instead of anger, healing instead of bitterness, kindness instead of ego, you don't just change your life, you quietly give others permission to change theirs. But many people say, I will help others when I'm perfect. I will give love when I'm healed. I will light others when my flame is strong enough. But the truth is, you don't need to be perfect to make a difference. You just need to be willing. Even a small candle can guide someone through the dark. So ask yourself gently, whose path might get brighter because you chose to grow today? Maybe it's your younger sibling watching how you handle pain. Maybe it's your child learning how to speak kindly by listening to you. Maybe it's a friend who feels less alone simply because you stayed. Your personal transformation could be the silent reason someone else doesn't give up. You don't have to change the world loudly. You just have to keep your flame lit and be willing to share it. Growth is not selfish. Growth is the most generous thing you can do for the world. Principle 10. Remember, you will not be here forever. Walk along the shoreline and you'll see footprints in the sand, clear for a moment, then slowly fading as the tide comes in. One wave, then another, and soon there is no trace of where someone once stood. This is the quiet truth of life. We are here only for a short while. Our names, our worries, our achievements, even our footsteps, all of them will one day be washed away by time. This truth is not meant to frighten us. It is meant to awaken us. Most people live as though they have forever. They postpone their dreams, silence their feelings, stay in places where their soul is shrinking. They say, "One day I'll live the way I want. One day I'll forgive. One day I'll start." But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, nothing is guaranteed, not even the next breath. Death is not the end of life. It is what makes life meaningful. Because we do not last, every moment matters more. Buddhism teaches impermanence, anicca. Everything changes. The seasons, the body, emotions, relationships, even the people we love. But instead of mourning this truth, Buddhism invites us to gently bow to it. Impermanence is what makes life sacred. If everything lasted forever, nothing would be precious. The fact that a sunrise disappears makes it beautiful. The fact that you will not always have today makes today worth living fully. So instead of fearing death, let it be your teacher. Let it remind you to speak kindly while you still can, to forgive before regret takes root, to love before time closes its hands. Let it remind you that life is not a rehearsal. You are already standing on the stage. Take a moment. Breathe. Look at your life with honest eyes. If today was your last day, what would you no longer postpone? The words you haven't said, the dream you keep delaying, the healing you keep avoiding. Nothing important should be left for later, because later is not promised. When you understand impermanence, you don't become hopeless, you become awake. You stop chasing what doesn't matter. You stop clinging to what hurts. You start living with softness, with urgency, with gratitude. You begin to see that everything you love is temporary, and that is why you love it more gently, more fully, more presently. We will all become footprints in the sand. The tide will come. But before it does, you still have time to walk, to love, to become who you were meant to be. Bonus. The path is the destination. We are often taught to see life as a mountain we must conquer. We chase the peak, the perfect moment, the perfect version of ourselves, the day when everything finally makes sense. But Buddhist wisdom offers a gentler truth. Life is not a mountain to climb, it is a river to walk beside. There is no finish line to reach, no final moment when everything is complete. Instead, life unfolds one breath, one step, one quiet choice at a time. Enlightenment is not a place you arrive at. It is a way of traveling. It is not about escaping pain, reaching perfection, or becoming someone else. It is about being fully awake to this moment, this breath, this thought, this experience, without running away or reaching ahead. When you walk with awareness, even the simplest moments become sacred. Drinking tea, watching the sky, feeling your heartbeat. These are not distractions from life. These are life. The world tells you, you must become more. But Buddhist wisdom whispers, you only need to remember. You are not empty. You are not behind. You are not late. You already carry what you're seeking: peace, love, clarity, enoughness. They are seeds within you, waiting for your attention to water them. So pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath enter and leave your body. This is not a rehearsal. This is the path. And every step you take consciously, itself, is the destination.